You feel it before you see it. A city can make a sound when it believes it is eternal, bronze on bronze, sandals on stone, the dry slap of wax seals on fresh papyrus. But under that noise, Rome carries a second rhythm now, a flinch. Because one name keeps returning in whispers and prayers, in the way men stop talking when a door opens. Hannibal. And this morning, under a white, pitiless sun near a river called the Aufidus, Rome walks straight toward the mouth of a trap that is already closing. I am Professor Adrian Lockwell. I am the time detective. Stay with me, because if you blink inside this crush, you do not come back out. Rome wakes as if nothing can break it. The forum fills with familiar arguments, grain contracts shouted over each other, tax ledgers pressed into palms, magistrates pointing at columns like the stone can enforce law by itself. A blacksmith's hammer rings with the confidence of routine. Somewhere a young recruit repeats a drill step until his calves tremble, because discipline is how Rome keeps fear in a box. But then the box rattles. A messenger arrives not like a man, but like a warning, dust in his eyelashes, mouth opening and closing before sound comes out. He carries the smell of wet wool and old blood, the smell that follows an army that does not come home whole. Names spill from him in broken pieces: Trebia, Trasimene. Places where Roman confidence meets fog and screams and then silence. He speaks of men who limp back with eyes that never fully focus again, men who keep describing this same impossible thing, a commander who fights like weather, everywhere at once, never where you expect, arriving with the wind itself. Hannibal does not just defeat them, he rearranges their understanding of safety. In a narrow room off a portico, a senator's hand shakes so hard wine slops onto a map. He wipes it with his sleeve, as if smearing the stain can erase the fact that Italy feels exposed. Outside, citizens push close to hear the latest rumor, and a mother grips her son's forearm too tightly, as if pressure can keep him from being taken. A veteran spits and mutters, "He is still here. He is still walking our roads." Another man answers, too loudly, "Then we crush him." Rome's pride speaks in the future tense, crush, end, finish, because the present tense feels like admitting vulnerability. Therefore, Rome chooses its oldest comfort, numbers. Levies pour in until the streets choke with men carrying mismatched shields and borrowed helmets. The smell of sweat and oiled leather spreads through the city like a new season. Boys who barely shave stand beside men with scarred knuckles. A clerk reads names, and each name becomes a small surrender, someone's husband, someone's brother, someone's last hope of a farm not being seized for debt. In the barracks, a soldier tightens the strap under his chin and laughs too hard at nothing, because if he stops making noise, he might hear his own fear. The plan sounds simple when it is spoken loudly. Find Hannibal. Force him to fight. Use the weight of Rome to grind him down. But the plan has a crack running through it, and the crack has two names, Lucius Aemilius Paulus and Gaius Terentius Varro. Two consuls, one command shared like a blade passed back and forth, each edge facing a different direction. Paulus carries caution in his jaw, tight and silent. Varro carries urgency in his voice, loud enough to make even the tent poles feel judged. In a command tent that smells of damp canvas and old ink, Paulus presses a finger against a map until the paper wrinkles. "We wait," he says, not pleading, but measuring. We do not rush into his hands. Varro's laugh is quick, sharp. "Wait," he says, "while Italy burns, while Rome looks weak." He leans in. "We have the biggest fist. We use it." A junior officer watches the two men and feels a strange vertigo. The fate of tens of thousands sways on temperament, on ego, on which man wakes up holding authority on which day. Because command does not sit still. Today Paulus speaks and men nod. Tomorrow Varro speaks and men cheer. The army is enormous, but its mind keeps changing hands. Now the scene shifts to Apulia, and dawn cuts the world into pale gold and long shadows. The Aufidus River glints as if it wants to look innocent. The ground seems like it is made for Rome, flat, open, perfect for heavy infantry to do what it does best, push. A legionary digs his sandal into the soil and finds it dry, powdery. It clings to his heel like flour. He tastes it when he breathes. The wind rises. Not a storm, not yet, just a persistent blade that finds every gap in armor. Dust lifts and hangs in the air, turning the horizon soft and uncertain. A man beside you spits and the saliva becomes mud on his lips instantly. He squints. Bad air, he mutters. Another answers, trying to sound brave. Air does not kill. But air can blind. Air can hide. Air can carry the sound of hooves without giving you direction. Rome assembles like a festival crowd forced into armor. Standards rise, golden eagles catching sunlight, and the sight makes some men straighten their backs because symbols are a kind of borrowed courage. You hear horns, you hear shouted commands, you hear the clatter of shields bumped together in nervous rhythm. The formation tightens. Deeper. Heavier. More men stacked behind men until the line feels like a wall with a heartbeat. A centurion walks the ranks, face hard as fired clay. He taps a shield rim with the butt of his staff. Hold, he says. Hold your place. You win by staying in place. The soldier in the middle of the mass already feels a problem he cannot name. He cannot see the sky anymore. He sees helmets, backs, the twitch of shoulders. If he lifts his arm, it hits another arm. He smells breath, sour and close. The press is not yet panic, but it is already suffocation rehearsing. Across the field, Hannibal arranges the room. You do not see a single uniform army. You see a stitched thing, a living patchwork held together by will. Gauls with long hair and pale skin, some bare-armed despite the morning chill, grinning as if battle is a feast. Iberians with curved blades and eyes that do not waste movement. Africans, disciplined, quiet, standing like a door that does not open. Their shields sit steady, their feet planted with the patience of stone. And the center, Hannibal's center, looks wrong. It bulges forward, soft, almost theatrical. A Roman officer squints through the dust and feels relief crawl up his spine. That's it, he says aloud, and he hates how hopeful he sounds. That's the wall that haunts Italy? He imagines the story ending cleanly. Rome hits the middle, breaks it, and the nightmare becomes a lesson told to children. But behind Carthaginian lines, cavalrymen tighten girths until leather creaks. Horses blow warm breath into the morning, nostrils flaring, eyes rolling white at the corners. Riders murmur in languages Rome does not understand. They are not here to hold. They are here to hunt. Command passes like a torch. Today the authority rests with Vero, and he wears it like a challenge. He rides the line and calls forward. The word travels faster than sense. Men cheer because cheering is easier than thinking. Paulus rides too, not opposing openly now, but his posture screams restraint. His eyes scan the dust, the wind, the shape of Hannibal's line. He looks like a man listening for a second heartbeat in a room. The horns sound again. The Roman mass begins to move, and the ground trembles under so many feet that it feels like an approaching quake. A legionary's shield strap bites into his forearm. He adjusts it, but the press behind him pushes him forward anyway. He tells himself he chooses this movement. But the truth is simpler. Once the formation goes, you go. Rome crosses the line between we can win and we must win. And in that crossing, options die quietly. You want to believe the battlefield is just dirt and sky. But the battlefield lies. The wind swings around so the dust lifts into Roman faces. It scratches eyes, coats tongues. Men blink hard, and their lashes come away gritty. Commands turn muffled. You hear a centurion shout, but you catch only the anger, not the instruction. A soldier wipes his eyes with the back of his hand and smears dust into tears, turning his cheeks into mud. The Roman formation compresses further, as if squeezing itself becomes an offering to Mars. It feels like strength. Look how thick we are, look how unstoppable. But it is also a promise. Once you go in, you cannot turn around. A man in the third rank feels the shield of the man behind him press into his spine, and he cannot step back even if the front rank screams for space. A thought flickers, what if we need to retreat? And the thought dies because there is no room even to think. Now contact. Shield rims slam like doors in a storm. With groans, metal clangs, and human breath turns into animal noise, grunts, curses, choking sounds as dust fills mouths at the moment men need air most. The Roman mass drives forward exactly as planned. You feel it, a surge that moves through the ranks like a muscle flexing. The Carthaginian center gives ground. Step by step. Backward. A Roman soldier thinks, "We're doing it." He cannot see Hannibal, but he can see the enemy line bending, and bending looks like breaking when you are desperate for proof. Men shout victory too early. A standard bearer lifts the eagle higher, and the metal catches sun as if the gods nod approval. But Hannibal's center does not break. It bends. It bends on purpose. The retreat is controlled, measured, a fall that never becomes a collapse. Gauls and Iberians give ground with their faces twisted in effort, but their movement has a rhythm that feels rehearsed. They draw Rome in the way a fisherman draws a struggling line, steady, patient, letting the prey exhaust itself. On the flanks, the battle speaks a different language, fast, brutal, personal. Carthaginian cavalry collide with Rome's horse, and you hear it before you understand it, the wet crack of a man hitting the ground under a hoof, the snap of bone against earth. A Roman rider screams once, and then the scream cuts off as he vanishes beneath moving bodies. Horses rear, eyes rolling, mouths foaming around bits. A cavalryman's hand slips on a spear shaft slick with sweat and blood. He grips again, harder, because letting go means being trampled by your own side. A messenger tries to push through the Roman infantry mass with news. His face is gray with dust, his breath coming in panicked bursts. He shoves between shields, but the wall of men does not part. There is no corridor. The army is too dense to talk to itself. He tries to climb over a knot of soldiers and gets elbowed down, his message swallowed by the press. Somewhere a commander needs to know the flank is failing, but the knowledge cannot travel. In a battle, information is oxygen. Here, oxygen runs out. Rome pushes deeper. The center surges into the bowing enemy line, deeper into the room Hannibal builds for them. A Roman in the fifth rank cannot see the enemy anymore. He sees only the backs of his own men and the narrow gap of daylight between shoulders where blades flash. He stabs forward blindly, feeling the jolt of contact, not knowing if he hits an enemy or just air. He hears someone cry in a language he does not speak and tells himself it must be Carthaginian, because the alternative is unbearable. Then the hinge turns. Hannibal's African infantry, disciplined, patient, pivot inward. Their movement is smooth, almost quiet, like a door closing on oiled hinges. For one heartbeat, a Roman soldier on the edge of the mass sees it. The enemy is no longer only in front. The enemy is on the side. Then the line keeps turning and the enemy is behind. The feeling changes instantly, like the moment a crowd realizes the exits are blocked. Men try to swing shields sideways, but there is no space. They are packed chest to back, shoulder to shoulder. Swords cannot arc. Spears snag on friends. A legionary tries to draw his blade fully, and the hilt catches the ribs of the man beside him. He curses, tries again, and now his elbow hits another elbow. Panic cannot run, so it boils in place. The air becomes hot breath and dust. It smells like iron and sweat and the sharp tang of fear, urine released without permission. A man cries for water and another screams at him to shut up because noise feels like betrayal. Somewhere a centurion tries to restore order with his voice, but his words dissolve into the roar of bodies. Carthaginian cavalry appears in the rear like a verdict. You do not see them until you feel them, the vibration of hooves through the ground, the sudden pressure as men in the back ranks jerk and twist, trying to face a threat they cannot even turn toward. A rider leans down and drives a spear into the mass where a man's neck opens between helmet rim and cuirass. Blood sprays warm, startlingly bright against gray dust. The wounded man does not fall cleanly. There is no room to fall. He remains upright, pinned by bodies, dying while standing. The ring closes. This is not a battle anymore. This is compression. This is mass death by design. Rome's greatest weapon, its numbers, becomes the walls of its own tomb. Inside the Roman knot, truth breaks into rumors. Paulus is down, someone gasps. Varro flees, another insists. No, Varro rallies the right, a third shouts, and all three claims live at once because no one can see. A soldier fights the enemy and the press of his own army. His shield arm cramps from holding weight that is not only his own. He tries to breathe and inhales dust so thick it scratches his throat like sand. Somewhere near the front, Paulus rides into the crush where a commander should not be. His horse balks at the wall of men and screams, high and terrified. Paulus forces it forward anyway because he refuses to be a consul who watches from safety while Rome suffocates. A javelin flies out of the dust and strikes, maybe the horse, maybe the man. The details vanish in the chaos. Men around him surge, and for a moment you see Paulus's face, jaw clenched, eyes furious not at Hannibal but at the predicament itself. He looks like a man trying to push back the sea with his hands. Varro, depending on which mouth tells it, either disappears in shame or survives by motion, trying to gather fragments into something that still resembles an army. The uncertainty becomes part of the terror. If your leaders are dead, you are already dead. If your leaders live but cannot reach you, you are still dead. Time loses shape. The sun climbs, and its heat turns armor into an oven. Sweat runs down spines and has nowhere to go. A man's fingers slip on his sword hilt, and he wraps his hand tighter until skin tears, and the handle becomes sticky. Blades dull. Arms tremble. Men keep stabbing because stopping is an invitation. On the Carthaginian side, you feel the other perspective, controlled, relentless, almost clinical. An African infantryman steps forward, thrusts, steps back, repeating the motion as if he is hammering a nail into wood. He does not need to swing wide. The Roman mass is so tight it presents targets without escape. He hears Roman voices turn from aggression to pleading to incoherent noise. He does not hate them personally. He simply obeys the geometry Hannibal creates. And here is where the perspectives collide, right in the dust. In Rome's telling, courage and weight and discipline should decide the day. In Hannibal's telling, space and timing and psychology decide it instead. One worldview believes the strongest door always wins. The other believes you never fight the door, you build a hallway that traps it. A Roman soldier, crushed so tightly his ribs ache, tries to turn his head and sees a friend's face inches away. The friend's eyes are wide, wet, reflecting nothing but crowd and fear. The friend's lips form words, maybe a prayer, maybe a name, but sound cannot travel. Their foreheads bump, not in affection, but because the press forces intimacy. In that moment, war stops being banners and speeches. War becomes breath stolen by another man's shoulder. Some men attempt the impossible. They try to climb out over bodies. They claw at shields, at helmets, at anything that gives grip. But hands slap them down. Not out of cruelty, out of instinct. If one man rises, another loses balance. Balance means life. Therefore, the mass polices itself. Survival turns men into guards of their own prison. On the edges, a few Roman units resist longer because they still have space. A centurion there manages to rotate his line to keep shields facing outward. He shouts, back to back. His voice holds for a moment. But the circle keeps tightening and space vanishes like a puddle under heat. Hannibal rides where he can see the whole shape. He reads the battle like a script he writes in real time. His face stays composed, but his eyes move constantly, counting, measuring, watching his own men for signs of fatigue. Because the trap is not magic. It requires discipline under temptation. If his center breaks too early, the hallway collapses. If his flanks turn too soon, Rome escapes. Therefore, he holds the timing in his hands as tightly as any sword. You can feel the moment the Roman mass understands, collectively, without words, that victory is not coming. The sound changes. The roar of forward momentum becomes a choked, uneven noise. The rhythm of organized pushing breaks into isolated screams. A man laughs hysterically. Another begs to surrender, and a third punches him because surrender is an idea with no place to stand. Do you know what it feels like when an army cannot move? It feels like being buried while still breathing. The dead do not fall away. They remain as obstacles underfoot. A living soldier steps on a corpse's arm and the hand, stiffening, hooks his ankle like a trap. He stumbles, and the men behind him keep pressing, and he cannot recover. He goes down and disappears, not under enemy blades alone, but under Roman boots. The killing continues until even the killers struggle to lift their arms. A Carthaginian cavalryman wipes his face with a sleeve and leaves a smear of red across his cheek. He blinks slowly, as if waking from something he does not want to remember. A Roman soldier near the center feels his sword slip from numb fingers. He reaches for it, but the press pins his elbow. He cannot retrieve the only tool that keeps him alive. He tries to bite someone, anyone, because teeth still work when hands fail. That is how low the human mind can go when space disappears. Eventually, the noise thins, not because mercy arrives, but because there are fewer mouths left to make sound. The dust settles in slow sheets. Under the sun, the field becomes a carpet of bodies and broken gear, shields split like bowls, spears snapped, helmets dented inward where skulls give way. Vultures arrive early, as if invited by the scent. Survivors stumble away coated in gray dust that makes them look like ghosts. One man sits down beside a dead friend and tries to speak to him, calmly, as if conversation can reverse the day. When no answer comes, he simply sits longer. News travels to Rome not like a letter, but like a sickness. A rider enters the city with his face hollow, and people know before he speaks. Mothers stop in the street, hands hovering as if they forget what to do with them. A senator walks into the Senate House, and the room falls quiet in a way that feels unnatural, like a city holding its breath. Someone asks, "How many?" The rider's mouth opens, closes. Numbers come out that do not fit inside the mind. A clerk drops his stylus. The tapping of it on stone sounds louder than grief. Rome tastes something it rarely allows itself to taste, the possibility of ending. The Republic, that machine of confidence, suddenly feels like a body that can bleed out. The city does not celebrate the turning of any year now. There is only triage, new levies, desperate funding, laws spent to fill ranks, the fear that Hannibal will appear at the gates with the same calm that appears on the battlefield. But Hannibal's camp holds its own argument, sharp as any Roman debate. Victory is massive and incomplete. Fires burn low, and the smell of cooked meat mixes with the metallic scent that clings to men after killing. Captured Roman gear lies in heaps, and a Carthaginian soldier picks up a Roman helmet, turns it in his hands, and laughs softly, not from joy but from disbelief at how much metal can fail. A voice, one of Hannibal's officers, pushes forward, urgent. "To Rome," he says. "Now, march while they tremble. You have broken their spine." Another voice answers, colder. "And then what?" he says. "Walls. Gates. A city that eats armies. Distance. Supply. You want to win a battle again, but a siege is a different animal." The first officer snaps back. They are bleeding. They are afraid. This is the moment. The second shakes his head. Moments kill more armies than swords. Hannibal listens. He stands near a table where maps weigh down the corners with stones. His fingers hover over roads like he can feel the future through parchment. His eyes are tired in a way that does not show in battle. Because on the battlefield he guesses right about men. Now he must guess right about time. Here the conflicting perspectives sharpen into a blade you can almost touch. One camp believes Cannae opens the city like a wound, strike now, finish it, because fear is most useful while it is fresh. The other camp believes Rome is not a city you take by hunger unless you bring an entire world with you, grain, siege machines, allies who do not flinch, and months you can afford. Hannibal chooses not to gamble everything on a siege. He chooses maneuver, alliances, political fracture, make Rome's friends question whether Rome can protect them. It is a strategist's choice. It is also the choice that leaves Rome alive. In Rome, a different argument forms under terror. Some want negotiation, a desperate purchase of peace. Others treat that idea like disease. "We do not bargain," a senator spits, voice shaking. "We endure." Therefore endurance becomes policy, not inspiration. The city hardens. It drafts boys and old men. It scrapes gold from temples. It learns to fight not for a quick win, but for the slow refusal to die. And that is the lingering sting of Cannae. It is not only a slaughter, it is a lesson delivered with hands around the throat. When you mistake momentum for control, you walk into a room you cannot leave. Modern Mirror begins now. Cannae is not trapped in 216 BC like an insect in amber. It breathes through modern systems that look nothing like a battlefield until they suddenly do. A market stampede where everyone sells at once and liquidity vanishes. A viral panic where information jams and rumor outruns instruction. A network overloaded because every user pushes in the same direction, confident the system can absorb it, until it cannot. The pattern is the same. Density becomes fragility. Communication collapses. The exits disappear. Verdict: the deadliest trap is the one your own strength builds for you. Join the investigation. If you want the next case file, How Rome Survives After It Should Be Dead, subscribe to Archives of Humanity. When you subscribe, you don't just get another video, you get continuity, the thread that reveals how one decision echoes for years. And click the end screen video waiting for you, because this story does not end at the riverbank. The clock simply starts counting differently. Legacy question: if you stand in Varro's place at dawn, cameras off, reputation on the line, a city demanding certainty, do you choose the decisive blow that can make you a hero, or the cautious delay that can make you a coward, even if it saves lives?